When the call went out for people to try out for the TED Varsity, I decided I would do it because the call was so interesting. If you get to give one talk, what would you talk about? And I spent a lot of the summer writing about this. You can ask my wife. I was really annoying for most of July trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I knew it would be about schools. And I knew, because I'm a poet, I knew that if it was a good talk, I would figure out what it was about by the time it was over. And I did. So the talk is built around 4 poems, 3 of mine and 1 of a famous poet. And you'll be able to follow along. And my 3 poems are about the school. And my talk is about how our school is special, but it's also all schools. So here's a poem that says something true about schools. All this is true. You've taken my freedom and aborted all my plans, he said. In this class, I finally felt comfortable to speak my mind, she said. I will grow up, the smallest boy wrote, while everyone else was scrawling jokes on a card at the end of the year. If you have done your job, some of them will never forget you. You will never forget some of them. Most will remember other things. What you came to give is often not what they came to get. Your task is to connect the verbs. A young man said, I did no work for 6 years, and when I got to college, I found I knew how to take a class. The other students had no clue. He was lighting a cigarette as he spoke. His smile was difficult to distinguish from smoke. Let's look at what the 4 voices have to say. And by the way, the quotes are real. One feels he was robbed. One feels validated. One, a small boy, is promising he'll make progress, and the last voice uses irony. The speaker in the poem, a teacher, is a listener to 4 wildly different takes on education. His thoughts about what he hears, the middle stanza, are orderly, measured, and separate from the living words he has to deal with. In this piece, school is not a place where wonder is a daily reality and all is brilliance. School is a place where reality is messy. And a teacher knows that he has to place himself inside it. How he does this will get clearer after we take a look at a second poem, one in which the teacher's job is defined. Here is William Stafford's Vocation from Traveling in the Dark, 1962. And I said vacation, and I want to say vocation. So vocation. Vocation. The dream the world is having about itself includes a trace on the plains of the Oregon Trail. A groove in the grass my father showed us all one day while meadowlarks were trying to tell something better about to happen. I dreamed the trace to the mountains, over the hills, and there a girl who belonged to wherever she was. But then my mother called us back to the car. She was afraid. She always blamed the place, the time, anything my father planned. Now, both of my parents, the long line through the plain, the meadowlarks, the sky, the world's whole dream remain. And I hear him say, while I stand between the two, helpless, both of them part of me, your job is to find out what the world is trying to be. It's a strange, lovely poem. Notice the dream the world is having about itself. And another dream, that of the speaker, is a boy finding his way to a girl who belonged to wherever she was. The boy does not seem to belong where he is, but he is dreaming, perhaps, of escape, and of a girl who does belong in the world. At the moment, he is helpless, caught between the fearful mother and the hopeful father. Stanzas 1 and 2 are memory, and the speaker in this poem sees images of himself as helpless and attentive. As an adult, stanza 3, he holds this memory. It is real, and he hears the call that it seems has guided his adult life. In this poem, fear is the negative, dreaming is the positive. Dreaming seems to mean becoming. The poem believes there is something in the world that wants to become, develop, and the speaker is called to find out what that is. What does this have to do with how a teacher places himself among his students? Well, when I first read this poem, I thought, poet, teacher, it's the same vocation. Poet and teacher both imagine and believe there is something trying to get born. Their work is one of discovery and hope, and there is an art to this work which can become a life's work, a vocation. If this sounds idealistic, let's look at what happens in the world of a school. And here are 4 examples. A student I know, writing about herself in the third person, addresses a problematic teacher. You wait for her to trip and fall. She is waiting for you to pull her from the land of broken light bulbs. It's pretty clear what this girl is trying to be. Like the boy in Stafford's poem, she wants to escape a place where she is stuck. The broken light bulb might mean old ideas, weird people, fears, and to offer a hand to assist is our job, although we mostly won't know exactly what is going on. But if we and our schools can enter such moments, if we trust in and have hope for this kid, we might help her and we will also save ourselves. This is what we try for success after failure after success. This girl, an original, powerful writer, so impressed me that I arranged a meeting with a prominent poet who later told me that she didn't think the girl was actually that much interested in poetry, and went on to mention a most practical profession, a helping profession that the girl was interested in. It's complicated, this business of offering a hand, of trying to find out what the world is trying to be. It is not about helping someone become what we imagine they should become. Example 2. An 8th grader who had never been challenged writes about finding herself among kids who seem so much smarter than she is. Then she learns the other students do work. In her old school, she never had to do work. She was a star, and now her legs feel cut off. Her classmates are running, she is standing still. It is not supposed to be this way, but this 8th grader's essay, her look back at 7th grade, is so clear and honest. She is already such a writer that you can see she might well begin to put in effort to allow a new, stronger self to emerge. Certainly, she is trying to face up and has the skills to, but she does not know if she has the courage to take the risk. For this kid, a teacher thinks becoming is bumping up against something. She is not saying, pull me up. She is saying, I suddenly see where I am. She is afraid she won't rise to the moment. She is self-aware. Another aspect of what the world is trying to be emerges in the story of a poem in which a boy goes out at 3 a.m. in deepest Brooklyn, sees the local Italian kids, the boy is Chinese American, playing a game. The Hunter student watches as a boy stands in the street. Another kid drives straight at him, and the standee has to jump, landing on the hood of the car, or get mowed down. Nice game, right? Our senior passes, enters an all-night deli, buys 3 cans of Red Bull, and heads home to face the onrushing deadline of his term paper. The boy says, in writing conference, I have no imagination. I say, boy, nerve, car, you, caffeine, term paper. The boy says, oh shit, that's a poem, isn't it? I say, it could be. Boy is struggling with belief. Year is half over. He has written a lot and read a lot. He's grasped how images carry poems. He would like to speak. My mom says I need to focus on science, he says. He never finishes the poem. The final boy writes a perfect poem about his mom. It's all in images. At parent-teacher conferences, the mom says, yes, she saw it. He left it on the desk. Mom tears up. The kid is a natural-born poet. He has his own rock band, but he's not sure he wants to do much schoolwork. He hands in poems about his neighborhood as a final project. It's good. It has little drawings of the subway, seagulls, row houses. Other kids hand in a stapled pack of poems. This student, wearing his mask of coolness and detachment, hands in a book. Teacher is happy. Is the boy happy? Maybe. One thing a teacher is pretty sure of is that the voice in that chapbook is a glimpse of what this boy is at his best, a green shoot of what he might become. He graduates. How does a teacher place himself among his students? By listening, by challenging students to write and to think. The point here is not that each kid is trying to be a writer and that we are together finding that out. The point is that each kid is aware, to a differing degree, of the gap between who they are now and what they might do or want to be. Think for a moment of these 4 examples. Help me from the world of broken light bulbs. Hear that I'm afraid I'll never try to excel. I can see that school is about to run me over. And finally, I can make poems, but I have my reputation. The teacher knows that all 4 see something new about themselves. Hopefully, they also see they are not alone. Their stories are messy, open, and unresolved. To find out what the world is trying to be, what does that mean in the light of these stories? From where the teacher stands, there is the student's sense of who they are, and there is the teacher's sense of the life in each, of moving ahead versus the past, of independence versus passivity. And the teacher knows that not all dreams come true, and that becoming can be smothered. Listening in. The boy clutching his fantasy novel, turning pages, taking no other part in the day, made a silence the class overheard. Later, when I had to take the book from him, he was in a flash on his back on the floor, holding on, mouth open, making a space we stood outside of, looking in. It was a mild autism, his mother said, and in time, we all adjusted. The girl who brought me a page of her secret pain afterward denied it in a tired voice. Oh, that, keep it, whatever. She was an actor, a big presence, taking the fifth on internal advice. The 8th grade boy ran in circles like a crazed puppy, then collapsed, giggling at himself high above the buzzing crowd. He seemed to be happy, living outside the steady flow of gossip. So much to say, too busy to even stop. The 8th grade girl took perfect notes, kept one hand in the air, and narrowed her eyes when I faltered. Class should be a certain way, a place for A's. But her poem saw a homeless man buy hot milk tea, a shop where broken hands hold warmth. Then the year ended. The room emptied its kids into the hall, and she doubled back. I was hoping I would not be forgotten. They speak as mimes, sign makers, advertisers, announcers, skywriters, ringmasters, and something of what these hold aloft crosses over. They give that look, question, annoy on purpose, tell one story and keep telling it until they stop needing to. This is youth to age speaking, which begets trust, from which rises hope, for which there is no other evidence. So let's look at the teacher as he appears in this poem. He's adjusted to a small boy whose medical condition became clear. He's received a message from someone who ran away, and he's encountered an ambitious 8th grader who is trying to be excellent in class, to write her experience in the world, and to be a person in the midst of school. As a reader, I hope, can feel her points of growth. She wants to be remembered, which she is. And at the end, the teacher steps out of experience and reflects. Care of the future is youth to age speaking, which begets trust, from which rises hope, for which there is no other evidence. This is high school. Moments of listening, moments of putting up with each other, of being frustrated, of being amazed. Care of the future is living these moments through, sustained as the poem by something that crosses over out of the muddle and intensity of daily life in a school and results in the adult feeling trust and hope. The poem ends in the experience of the teacher who is changed as a person and in his vocation. Here is a more detailed example, our final one, of a classroom situation. Only words. The priest who saved the boy from terror listened. I can guess now he was angry about hell and a boy who believed all he was told. Father stood in his black cassock like a magician, plucking a quarter from behind the kid's ear. Gently he said, listen to me. You can do nothing worthy of hell. Yours is a scrupulous conscience. In 1954 in Chicago, I was freed to fall asleep and hope to wake and find me still on earth, a boy. As an adult, I faced a kid who sat in my classroom, staring at his teacher and could not speak at all, opened his mouth, made syllables, squeaks other kids learned to recognize. But if his hell was a tongue melted in some furnace he'd survived, he did write 2 stories. You could be good at this, I told him, having no cassock, Roman collar, or magic coin to offer, just words with which the thing can be offered, which is then accepted or refused, and so it must have been. I was the terrified boy. I was cared for. Many years later, I taught a silenced boy. What the 2 boys have in common is a powerful thing. The poem tries to show the way we find our childhoods emerge in our teaching, to show how we bring our lives to bear on our work, how the natural authority of a priest in long ago Chicago lives on. A boy met a wise priest. That boy, as a man, meets a boy whose life has silenced him. Does that man help this silent boy? The poem ends in uncertainty. It is where teaching often ends. Mihi cura futuri, care of the future is mine. I said at the beginning of this talk that if it were to be true, this piece would have to discover in the writing what it was about. Cura is intense, empathic, uneven, ambiguous, sacred, messy, a moving toward turbulence. Cura is the ground for the work a school is to engage in, a work that is spoken of reductively in much of what is called by the bureaucrats reform. With care of the future, learning and risk-taking can proceed. Without it, we can prepare for tests. Thank you.